Dogs are part of millions of homes, loyal and full of energy. But sometimes even the smallest mistake or sudden action can lead to tragedy. From playful moments that turned fatal to desperate owners losing their lives trying to save their pets, these are stories that no one expects, but they happen. In this video, we'll look at 5 real and deeply disturbing deaths caused by dogs. Bizarre, heartbreaking events that show how quickly love and chaos can collide. It was November 27, 2022, on the Kizlan Plateau in Turkey's Samsun province. 32-year-old hunter Özgür Gevrekoglu was wrapping up a weekend hunting trip with his friends. The weather was good, and everyone was getting ready to head home. Özgür, known for his love of hunting and dogs, often posted photos of himself smiling beside his dogs after successful hunts. What made this weekend special was that, only 10 days earlier, he had become a father for the first time. He was excited to get home to his family, but Özgür never made it back. As the group packed up their gear, Özgür began loading his belongings into his vehicle. Reports say he was putting his dog into the trunk along with the hunting equipment. However, his shotgun, still loaded, was inside the same area. As Özgür placed his dog into the trunk, the animal stepped on the trigger of the shotgun. The weapon fired immediately. The blast hit Özgür in the abdomen at close range. His friends rushed to help, but the injury was too severe. Emergency responders arrived quickly and tried to save him, but Özgür passed away before reaching Alakam State Hospital. His body was later transferred to Samsun for an autopsy to confirm the cause of death. News of his death spread fast. The community was heartbroken. Just days earlier, he had been celebrating becoming a father. Now he was gone because of what seemed like an impossible accident. Shot by his own dog. Police and prosecutors launched an investigation. One of Özgür's friends was briefly detained but later released when it became clear they were not involved. Early findings showed no sign of foul play, and evidence supported the explanation that this was a tragic accident caused by the dog. However, some local media questioned this version of events. A few outlets claimed the story seemed unlikely and suggested Özgür might have been the victim of something intentional, with the dog story used as a cover. The public prosecutor's office reviewed all angles but found no proof of a staged event. Investigators also couldn't determine which dog caused the discharge, since Özgür owned several and often took different ones hunting. His social media showed him with multiple hounds, making it unclear which was with him that day. Gun safety experts later explained that the tragedy could have been avoided. According to the British Association for Shooting and Conservation, firearms must always be unloaded before being stored or transported. The National Rifle Association echoes the same rule. The barrel should always face a safe direction, and the trigger must never be accessible. In Özgür's case, the shotgun should have been unloaded and stored separately before transport. Failing to follow these basic steps created a deadly situation. Sadly, this wasn't the only case of an animal-triggered shooting. In January 2023, 30-year-old Joseph Austin Smith from Kansas lost his life when a dog stepped on a rifle in a truck. In 2017, a hunter in Iowa was injured in a similar event, and in 2018, a man in New Mexico was wounded when his dog's paw hit his rifle trigger. These incidents show how easily complacency can turn deadly. Hunters sometimes skip safety steps, thinking nothing will happen until it does. For Özgür, that brief moment of carelessness cost him everything. A proud new father and devoted dog owner, his life ended in seconds. Investigators confirmed it was a tragic accident. The community mourned deeply, the irony haunting everyone. A man who loved his dogs lost his life to one. It was March 29, 2024 in McCreary County, Kentucky. 23-year-old Sergeant Isaac Lee Turpin of the U.S. Army National Guard decided to take his dog Cujo for a hike at Yahoo Falls in the Big South Fork National River and Recreation Area. He lived just 30 miles away and had been on these trails many times. It was supposed to be a normal Friday morning outdoors with his dog, but Isaac never made it home. Isaac was from Somerset, Kentucky, about 45 minutes from Yahoo Falls. He joined the National Guard in July 2019 and earned several medals, including the National Defense Medal, the Army Service Ribbon, and the Armed Forces Service Medal. Outside of his service, he worked as a mechanic at UGN Automotive and held an associate degree from Morehead State University. He loved riding his motorcycle, camping, and playing guitar. He was also engaged to his partner, Cherish Menken, and they were planning their wedding. On social media, Isaac often posted pictures of his hikes and outdoor adventures. Cujo was always there beside him. They were inseparable. On that March morning, Isaac grabbed his tactical backpack and headed to Yahoo Falls with Cujo for what should have been a simple hike. Yahoo Falls is the tallest waterfall in Kentucky, dropping 113 feet into a shallow pool. The area offers several hiking loops, the most popular being a 1-mile trail rated moderate in difficulty. Hikers can either start downhill and return up the steep metal stairs or take the reverse route. The Kentucky Department of Tourism warns that the stairs can be tricky, especially when wet. Still, for someone as experienced as Isaac, this trail was familiar and manageable. Spring made Yahoo Falls especially beautiful and slippery. The rocks were often wet from the seasonal water flow. Sometime during the hike, Cujo broke loose and ran ahead. Like any pet owner would, Isaac rushed after him, desperate to catch his dog before something happened. The trail runs above the falls, and as Isaac chased Cujo, something went wrong. Authorities believe he slipped near the edge. Maybe his footing failed on the slick rocks, or maybe he was moving too quickly. Whatever the cause, Isaac lost his balance and fell over the waterfall. He fell more than 100 feet into the shallow pool below. His tactical backpack stayed on, partly visible above the water. No one witnessed what happened. The area was empty and his body remained there until about 11:30 a.m., when a visiting family noticed the backpack sticking out of the water. When they looked closer, they realized there was a person beneath the surface and called authorities immediately. Deputies arrived and confirmed that the man in the water was deceased. At 12:41 p.m., he was pronounced dead at the scene and later identified as Sergeant Isaac Lee Turpin. Investigators concluded he likely slipped while trying to retrieve his dog. His body was later taken to the Kentucky Medical Examiner's office for an autopsy, and the National Park Service began a review of the incident. Cujo was later found safe and returned to Cherish. The loss devastated everyone who knew Isaac. Cherish shared emotional tributes online, describing him as her light, someone who had brought her peace, balance, and love she'd never known before. Isaac's obituary described him as a kind, adventurous man who cared deeply for his family and friends. He was experienced, well-prepared, and cautious, everything an outdoorsman should be. But when Cujo ran off, his instinct to protect his dog took over. One misstep on a wet rock changed everything. Isaac was only 23 years old, a soldier, mechanic, musician, and fiancé. He lost his life doing something he loved, in a place he loved, while protecting a companion he loved. It was December 23, 2023 in Alaska. Amanda Richmond Rogers, 45 years old, was celebrating her 18th wedding anniversary with her husband, Brian Rogers. They decided to spend the day hiking the North Fork Eagle River Trailhead, one of Amanda's favorite spots near Anchorage. It was meant to be a joyful time, their first Christmas since Amanda's father had passed earlier that year. With their 4 sons and visiting family, they wanted to make it special. After spending 2 days with her mother and sister, this day was theirs, a celebration of 18 years of marriage that began back in 2005. They brought their 2 dogs along, including Groot, their beloved Irish wolfhound. Amanda and Brian treated their dogs like family. They even had a room in their home dedicated to the memory of past pets, complete with paw tattoos to honor them. Amanda had around 35,000 photos and videos on her phone from their 18 years together, and most included their dogs. The morning was calm and bright. The air was cold and snow covered the landscape, but they enjoyed watching the dogs play. The trail followed the frozen Eagle River, and they stopped by a scenic spot to take in the view. The ice looked thick. The surroundings were peaceful. Then everything changed in an instant. Groot wandered toward a small hole in the ice to drink water, but the ice around it was thin. It cracked beneath him, and the dog fell through into the freezing river. Brian reacted instantly. He ran toward the hole and jumped into the icy water without hesitation. The cold struck him hard, but he didn't care. He had to save Groot. Holding onto the ice with one hand, he searched with the other, diving beneath the surface and feeling through the dark water. He thought he saw a paw but couldn't reach it. Running out of air, he pulled himself out, gasping and shivering. Then he turned and saw Amanda entering the water. Brian shouted for her to stop, but she didn't. Whether she didn't hear or couldn't bring herself to stop, Amanda's instincts had taken over. As an emergency room nurse, former death scene investigator, and pediatric hospice nurse, she was trained to help others. To her, Groot wasn't just a pet, he was family. Before Brian could reach her, she dove beneath the ice, swimming downstream and disappearing under the frozen surface. Brian waited, praying she'd come back up, but she never did. Brian called for help immediately. Alaska State Troopers, the Alaska Dive Search, Rescue and Recovery Team, Solstice Search and Rescue K-9 Team, and Alaska Wildlife Troopers joined the search. They used sonar, drones, and rescue dogs working through Christmas and bitter weather. The search continued for days until equipment froze from the cold. On December 29th, operations were suspended. The family held a celebration of life in early March. Amanda's 4 sons spoke of her strength and love. Her co-workers honored her with a nightingale ceremony, and the community surrounded Brian with support. He described Amanda as a devoted mother, nurse, and adventurer who always put family first. Then on March 24, 2024, nearly 3 months later, a hiker discovered a body near the trail. It was Amanda. Her sister later shared that Amanda was found holding Groot in her arms. Even in her final moments, she didn't let go. She had found him under the ice and held him until the end. To her family, that said everything about who she was. Amanda Rogers gave her life doing what came naturally to her, protecting someone she loved. It was May 19, 2023, in Hope Cove, Devon, England. 18-year-old Keely Plant from Galmpton had just finished eating pizza with her boyfriend, Oliver Griffiths. Around 12:45 p.m., they left home and drove to South Milton Beach with their two cockapoos, Bertie and Cooper. It was a route Keely knew well. She often walked the 5-mile coastal path with her sister, exercising their dogs. But what started as a simple walk would end in tragedy. Keely had just finished year 13 at Kingsbridge Community College, where she studied math and IT. She was a hardworking student who often asked for extra assignments and had earned good grades. Teachers said she made a positive impact on everyone around her. Keely had plans to study finance at the University of Winchester, but wanted to take a gap year first. She had already gotten a job at Tesco, was learning to drive, and dreamed of traveling before beginning university life. Born in Plymouth, Keely was adopted by her foster parents as a child. She had faced personal challenges growing up, including anxiety, but worked to help others as a mental health ambassador during her 6th form. Her mother, Pauline, described her as private and said home was her safe space. Keely loved animals and was close to her family and friends. She also worked at the Old Inn Marlborough and the Lobster Pod at Hope Cove, where she was well-liked by coworkers and customers. She was happiest walking her dogs, familiar with every turn of the coastal path she took that day. After finishing their meal, Keely and Oliver began heading back along the coast. The dogs were off their leads, running freely. Oliver hadn't walked that part of the path before, but Keely felt comfortable there. The weather was calm and the couple enjoyed their afternoon. Then a wild rabbit darted across the trail. Both dogs immediately chased after it toward the cliffs. Keely and Oliver shouted for them to stop. They climbed over a low wooden fence near the cliff edge, trying to get the dogs back. A woman sitting on a nearby bench watched as the couple called out repeatedly. Cooper eventually returned and Oliver managed to secure him, but Bertie stayed near the cliff edge. Keely moved closer, leaning over and calling for him. Moments later, Oliver heard a slip, and Keely vanished from sight. She had fallen about 100 feet onto the rocky beach below. Oliver rushed to the edge but was too far to reach her. The witness didn't hear a scream. One moment Keely was there, the next, she was gone. The woman called 999 at 3:24 p.m. Rescue teams, including the Coast Guard and a helicopter from Newquay, arrived within minutes. Beachgoers and an off-duty first responder tried CPR, but Keely showed no signs of life. At 4:16 p.m., she was pronounced deceased at Beacon Beach. Police confirmed no foul play. She had fallen accidentally while trying to save her dog. Her death deeply affected her family, school, and community. Kingsbridge Community College released a statement offering condolences and brought in counselors for support. Online, tributes poured in for the kind and caring teenager. A post-mortem found that she had passed from severe injuries caused by the fall. In May 2025, an inquest confirmed her death was accidental. Keely's mother described her as intelligent, kind, and devoted to helping others. Keely had big dreams, traveling, studying, building her future. But while trying to save her beloved dog, she lost her life doing what she loved most, walking along the coastal path with her pets. It was January 14, 2013, in Cantonment, Florida. James Bo Campbell, a 68-year-old Vietnam veteran, was heading home with his longtime partner, 56-year-old Iris Fortner. The two lived a quiet life in Florida's Panhandle. James had graduated from Tate High School, served his country, and built a life centered around his 2 children, 4 grandchildren, and close friends. Everyone knew him as a dependable man who'd always lend a hand when needed. That morning, he and Iris were returning home, unaware that in just moments, their day would end in tragedy. They were in their 1995 Chevrolet van, with Iris driving and James in the passenger seat. As they reached their driveway, Iris began backing up, but their metal gates were still closed. Like many times before, James stepped out to open them so Iris could reverse through. It was a routine task, something they'd done countless times without issue. James got out while the van was still in reverse. As he walked to the gates, Iris opened her door slightly to check his position. But that small action set off a chain reaction that neither could have predicted. Their dog, a large boxer bulldog, perhaps curious or excited, leapt into the driver's seat. Its paw came down hard on the accelerator. The van suddenly shot backward. Iris realized what was happening and reached for the brake, trying to stop it. But the vehicle was already moving too fast. James was standing behind the gates when he heard the engine roar. He likely turned, but there was no time to move. The van struck him and continued in reverse, trapping him underneath. Iris fought to stop the van, pressing the brake as hard as she could. When it finally stopped, James was pinned beneath it. Iris couldn't free him. She called for help immediately, but by the time emergency responders from Escambia County arrived, it was too late. James had passed away at the scene. The Florida Highway Patrol investigated thoroughly. Their findings confirmed what Iris had said. James had stepped out to open the gates, Iris had opened her door to see him, and the dog had jumped onto the accelerator. Everything pointed to a tragic accident, an event that unfolded in seconds and could not have been stopped. Authorities confirmed that Iris did nothing wrong. She had tried to stop the van and was not negligent in any way. Iris suffered minor physical injuries, but the emotional toll was immense. Losing her partner in such a sudden and uncontrollable way left her devastated. News of James's death spread quickly through the local community and was soon picked up by major outlets, including the Associated Press. Many people expressed sympathy online, while others questioned if a dog could truly cause such an event, but the investigation found no other explanation. Locals remembered James fondly. Friends described him as a kind, loyal man who always helped others. One tribute ended simply, "Thanks for the memories." James Campbell had survived war, raised a family, and spent decades as a steady presence in his community. Yet one ordinary moment, a pet's instinctive leap, changed everything. If the van had been parked, if the dog had been secured, if Iris had kept the door closed, things might have been different. But those thoughts came too late. On that quiet morning in January, a routine task turned into something no one could undo. The community of Cantonment was left mourning a man who had spent his life caring for others, gone in seconds due to an accident no one could have seen coming.